Hey, if you're watching this video, you're interested in buying chickens, and we've owned chickens for years and get lots of questions about them, so I figured I'd make a video sharing 10 things that you need to know before buying chickens. This is whether you've got chickens for your backyard, chickens for a small homestead, for a farm, whatever. We're going to go over a lot of different things that you wish you would have known maybe before you actually bought them, so that you don't wind up getting stuck. So let's get started. All right, so one of the first things you need to know is, are you allowed to have chickens in your area? Now, what you don't want to do is you don't want to invest in chickens, go pick out your chickens, bring them home, and then realize that you have an HOA or some kind of zoning restrictions that keep you from owning the birds. We're hearing about this a lot more, especially in suburban areas. People want to go buy chickens, but they don't realize that chickens are, they're either gonna have a rooster crowing or hens making noise, and then that gets their neighbors upset. Or maybe there's an issue with coops, or chicken manure, or whatever it may be. You need to, number one, make sure that you're allowed to have chickens in your area, and if so, there may be some regulations on how many chickens that you can have too, so make sure to check that out. One thing you're going to need to consider is protection and keeping your girls safe. So if you have a traditional coop, you need to make sure that it's locked and secured. Make sure there's not any spots for possums or raccoons or foxes to get into. We've got a mobile coop, so we use this Premier One poultry netting and electric charger. This will run between 2,000 and 8,000 volts at any given time, depending on how high the grass is. So if you have neighborhood dogs, or a raccoon or something that comes and sticks its nose on this fence, it's going to get a good zap and be deterred as far as that's concerned. One thing also to consider is hawks. Sometimes hawks will go after girls, especially if they're younger or smaller. So that's something to consider too. We're going to go into something later on regarding protecting animals. But you need to, there's an old saying around here, which is shoot, shovel, and shut up. So if something is continually attacking your animals, you know what to do. Another thing to consider is your initial startup costs. You're gonna have to have some kind of a coop. You're gonna have to have waters, feeders, feed. You don't need chicken toys, which I see a lot of people have. But what kind of things do you need to invest in to maintain? Typically, once you buy these, you've got them for a long time. Rocky says hello. But yeah, you just need to count up your costs before you go bringing birds home, and then you realize you're forgetting something. Next thing to consider is different breeds of chickens. Now, people get chickens for lots of different reasons. Some people want good egg layers. Some people want chickens that are very resilient in cold weather. Some are, they want pretty chickens. I mean, it just really runs the gamut. We typically like to get chickens that have a really good temperament, and that's what we're learning after having chickens for so many years. We don't want chickens that are really skittish, and we want chickens that have a good, good egg layers. And then we're in Georgia, so we need chickens that are resilient as far as heat is concerned. So decide why, what kind of things you're wanting in regards to chickens, what would make a good chicken for you. One of our favorite ones that we're starting to breed is called a Bielefelder. It's a German breed, and they have very good temperament. They're kind of a bigger bird, real docile, and a good egg layer. So figure out what works best for you and go from there. So chickens are a commitment. Now, you've got to feed them, you have to water them, you have to check on bedding, you have to collect eggs, make sure that they're safe. This isn't like having a pet turtle. And the other thing to consider too is, if you go out of town, if you're going on vacation for a week, do you have someone who can come and watch your girls for you? So that's definitely something a lot of people don't think about. There's a lot of pet sitters, a lot of people who are taking care of chickens. We have somebody that we use when we go out of town, and she comes over and handles everything for us. So just understand, they're not super intensive, but they do require daily chicken chores to make sure that you're taking care of your girls, make sure everybody's healthy and safe and provided for. So another thing to consider is roosters. Do you want a rooster? Now, if you're not looking to breed chickens, you don't necessarily need a rooster. Roosters are good for protection. They will warn girls about hawks. They'll warn them about other predators. They'll point out food. They'll corral them. They'll tell them when it's time to go in. They're a really useful bird to have, but they can also be aggressive. We've had roosters that were really good, and then one day they just turned aggressive and started attacking your feed and getting real close to you. And we had to dispatch of a couple. We've given one away, and then we've had multiple that were just really good roosters. Our rooster right now, Rocky, he's a good rooster. We hand feed him, and he causes us no problems. So the other thing too, as I mentioned earlier, is if you have hawks fly overhead, he'll make a very distinctive sound, and all the girls will go run and hide up under the coop. So he's kind of like a guard dog, if you will. So one other thing also to consider is if you're in like a community, roosters make noise, obviously, they crow, and your community may not allow that. And a rooster crow can can go really far. So if you got an HOA, I'm guessing they're probably not going to allow you to have a rooster. But yeah, just consider if you want to do that. One other thing too is that if you're ordering straight run chickens from a hatchery or something, you may order 10 birds and 5 of them are roosters. So have a rooster escape plan. If you do wind up with a bunch of roosters, are you going to eat them? You're going to give them away? What are you going to do with them? So next up, let's talk about chicken math. Now, what is chicken math? Chicken math is when you go to pick out some chicks and you go, oh, let's get 5 chicks to start with. Not too many, not too few. And when you get there, you get your 5 chicks and you love this, and you go, well, we've got 5, why not get 3 more chickens? Oh yeah, we can do 3 more, that's not too big of a deal. And by the time you're done, you got 50 or 60 chickens running around. We've got about 60 here. But you've got way more than you had planned for, because chickens are really not it's not that much more difficult to add a few more. And by the time you're done with it, you keep adding, which I tend to kind of err on get a few more than you think you're going to get, especially if they're chicks, because chicks die. Like, things happen sometimes. You might have a chick that is totally fine, and 2 months in, just something happens and they pass. So I tend to get a few more than you think you'll need. Some people say err on the side of caution. I tend to just get 2, 3 more chickens, because what's 2 or 3 more chickens, right? It's chicken math. One thing you need to consider is just the health of chickens, and you need to take a little time to learn. Just like if you were getting a Doberman Pinscher, you want to research a little bit about Doberman Pinschers, what are common issues that they may have. Same thing with chickens. You need to research different problems that they may have, and you're probably watching this on YouTube, so there's lots of ways you can search for health problems that chickens have. We've got an additional coop that we separate girls into. If they're sick, if they got any problems, we put them over there, give them a little time by themselves, and see how they're doing. Another topic, which is a little bit of a tougher subject but still needs to be discussed, is sometimes chickens are not doing well, they're not getting better, and you have to put a chicken down. Can you do that? Do you have somebody that you know that can do that? Can your husband or wife do that if you're not up to the task? So we've had chickens in the past. Sometimes they're even chicks come through, and you can tell something's not right. They're not getting any better, and you need to put them out of their misery. So can you do that? Are you able to do that? Or do you have somebody that can do that for you? You don't want to let an animal suffer just because you're uncomfortable with death. And I think at least in America, we've become so far removed from death and try to separate ourselves from death at all that we've totally forgotten this is just a part of life. So make sure that's something that you're capable of doing if need be. Really, one of the reasons a lot of people like chickens is because they give them eggs. Now, your dog's not going to give you an egg. That would be kind of creepy and weird if it did, but chickens give you eggs. They're way better than the nasty, pasty, pale yellow eggs that you get from the grocery store. A good egg that's been raised from a chicken on grass is bright orange. and just really, really good stuff. So one thing to know is that depending on the breeds that you have and a lot of different factors, you're not always going to get an egg every day. Usually one a day to one every other day, just depending on the breed. So understand that can also go up or down depending on if the chicken is stressed, depending on if the chicken is sick, if they're broody, if it's cold. Winter production usually drops because the girls are conserving that energy to stay warm. So that's kind of when we go back to the chicken math thing. That's why I like a few more, because you offset that just a little bit. But don't expect an egg every single day. I do know a lot of people that get pretty regular eggs, but again, that goes back to what breeds you have, if it's a high producing egg breed. So anyways, have fun with them. Don't get stressed out if the chickens aren't pumping out eggs 24/7. That's only one part of why you get chickens, but it's a really good part. Let me know what questions you have about chickens in the comment section below. If you want to watch a video about daily chicken chores, go ahead and click over here. And if you want to watch a video about our mobile coop and our chicken setup, go ahead and click over here.